Welcome back to La Pausa, a pints and punditry podcast here at the Pitchside Pub. It's Leap Day, Thursday, February 29th, and today we're going to talk about Barcelona. We're going to get out of the Premier League for a little bit, and we're going to talk about Barcelona and the media, and the way they are covered, and the way they need to be covered, and the way we as fans need to approach what we hear about them over the course of the next few months, because we are quickly approaching the silly season. And that's, the transfer rumors and the summer window that's going to open up in a few months. And Barcelona's got some heavy lifting to do, and they have no money to do it with. And for them, it's not the silly season, it's the disingenuous season. And it's partly Barcelona's fault, and it's partly, and in a large way, it is the media's fault for how they are covered and how they are treated, and the complete lack of accountability for the situation that they're in that is painfully obvious to anybody who's actually paying attention, and yet they are covered still like they are, this epic, amazing, wealthy club, which they are no longer at the moment. And they can get back to that, but that is not where they stand right now, and yet that's how they're still treated by the media. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get into all that, but before we do, make sure you follow the podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Pitchside Pub, and of course, as always, get in the comment section. Barcelona fans, if you think I'm off base, let me hear it. If you don't like the way your club is operating, let me hear it. There may be some validity to this. There is not much validity to any of the rumors you are hearing that connect Barcelona to basically anybody that you've heard of. Any of the big names, Rafael Leao, or Alphonso Davies, or any of these big names that are possibly on the move and are viable transfer options for this summer, there have been links with Barcelona, and it's just so disingenuous because the big cloud hanging over the head of all of these rumors is the fact that Barcelona has no money. They have no money to work with. They are $1 billion in debt right now. They still have transfer fees that they owe other clubs. They can no longer pull the financial levers that they've been, quote-unquote, pulling over the past few years, which are not levers. These are not magic levers that they can pull and money comes out. It's selling off future revenue from media rights and content creation and things that were supposed to help them make more money down the road so that they can spend more. They've sold off portions of that. They haven't even gotten all the payments for all of it. They got stiffed in a couple of occasions, and so they don't have any money. And that was evidenced this last summer. They spent no money. All of their incoming players were loans and free transfers. The last big transfer that they had was Robert Lewandowski, and Victor Roque was where all their money went. And he came in January, and he's going to have to be a big part of the future because Lewandowski is fading. He's getting old, and he has turned out to not be a very wise investment for a club that did not have a lot of money to work with. To spend it all on an aging Robert Lewandowski did not work that well. And obviously Victor Roque, the jury's still out. Young player, talented player, exciting to watch. And luckily Barcelona is still generating young talent, right? They've got so much young talent. These teenagers coming in and making an impact right away are going to keep them afloat. And that's where their focus should be. It's not that they don't have any talent left and can't still compete in La Liga, but they need to change how they're doing it. And yet they still want to go spend as though they are a prime player on the transfer market, and they're simply not. They have no money. But the problem is not just that Barcelona wants to operate that way. If they want to continue to do that, more power to them. We will watch it collapse around you. I've said for probably close to a year now that Barcelona is a house of cards waiting to fall, and I mean that financially. And it's catching up with them. And the fact that they are not competing this year in La Liga is because they've had no money to go get players. And yes, they were able to bring in Ilkay Gundogan and João Felix and João Cancelo, but you had free transfer, loan, right? So they were able to scrape it together without any money. And a player like Ilkay Gundogan is there because of what Barcelona used to be, the lure, the once great Barcelona club is still a draw to players, but that's going to fade year after year, and they are not going to be able to continue to rely on that. João Felix is a player that they have loved to have, but they're not going to be able to keep him. And an article came out this week. The news sort of broke that they don't plan on keeping João Felix next year. Well, that's not for tactical reasons. That's not for strategy. It's because they can't afford him. It's because Atletico Madrid wants money for him, and Barcelona doesn't have any. And they have been paying his wages, although not that much of it. And by the way, they need to dramatically lower their wage bill as well by hundreds of millions of dollars to get under La Liga's regulations. So even without a transfer fee, they would still need help with a player like João Felix. But Atletico Madrid wants some money for him, and they don't have it. So they're probably not going to have him back again next year unless they can work out a similar loan situation. Same thing with João Cancelo. They haven't given up on that one yet. And Manchester City does not really want him back, but they're not going to give him away for free. He's still a valuable asset, and Barcelona has no money. So we're starting to see the very low-hanging fruit that they still can't afford. These are players who have spent the year with them, and they can't afford to retain them. So don't tell me they're going to go after Rafael Leao or that they're going to go after Alphonso Davies. They don't have $70 million to spend on the transfer market for a guy like Davies, because that's what he's going to cost, somewhere in that range. Rafael Leao is going to be closer to 100. They don't have that. They wouldn't have that for 5 players. They don't have a tenth of that right now. They don't have $10 million. So that is none of those are viable. So part of it is on us as fans, right? There's so much blame here to go around. Barcelona, who are you kidding, right? But I guess if you want to go, talk to Rafael Leao, more power to you. Go ahead. But you're not going to get very far. But the media who covers this club and who covers transfer rumors, by acting like these are genuine rumors, you are doing everyone a disservice, and in my eyes, you are damaging your credibility. Because I don't take you seriously if you're actively promoting the fact that this is a possibility. I don't believe it for a second. And us as fans, don't buy it. Don't buy what you're reading. Even if you're a Barcelona fan, don't get your hopes up for Rafael Leao. That's not happening. He's not going there. They don't have the money. Now, the whole they don't have the money thing could be partially solved by selling Frankie de Jong. And we have talked about this. And maybe eventually Frankie de Jong gives in and accepts a transfer somewhere. But we've talked about the fact that they cannot force it. If he does not want to leave Barcelona, they can't make him. And they really kind of need to, because they need to get him off of their wage bill. But they can't make him. They can't make him. But that would solve some of the problem. But again, they are in debt. They need to lower their wage bill by hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So even if they sell Frankie de Jong, it's not like they can then go replace him with 2 guys that make the same amount of money. No, they need to spend less. So don't believe any of these rumors. Even if it's if they sell Frankie de Jong, they'll have $75 million, and that could be turned into to Alphonso Davies. Not really. Not really. That would even something like that would take some very creative accounting, which they have been able to do to stay afloat. And there's no guarantee that he would be registered with La Liga, which has been a problem for every Barcelona incoming player. Even the free transfers, even guys like İlkay Gündoğan had issues being registered because of the wage bill and because Barcelona just simply they cannot make their books balance. So it's on us to not believe everything we hear, which brings me to the key rumor that happened this week that made me want to use this as a topic for this podcast. And on this podcast, and if you don't know already, we try to do this every Monday and Thursday. Give us a follow down below. Follow on Spotify. Follow us on Twitter at Pitchside Pub if you don't, so you know when these come out. We try to talk about a topic or two that's happening in the football world. I'm not breaking down games here and there and getting into tactics. This isn't the forum for that. I can do videos for that. There are other places. This isn't the forum for this. I like to talk about topics. This is a conversation. And the reason I wanted to rant about Barcelona today was this ridiculous rumor that came out, I think, yesterday. And the news, the breaking news, and I use that term very loosely, was just so laughable that it made me want to talk about it. Erling Haaland's agent meets with Barcelona. That was the headline. That was the headline, and it very strongly implied that they were going to make a run at Erling Haaland. Now, Erling Haaland, who has made it very clear he is happy in Manchester City, has been continually linked with Real Madrid. And that one could have some potential because they do in fact have money, although with the Jude Bellingham investment, and if they do land Kylian Mbappe, I have argued that that makes it very unlikely, if not for financial reasons, then because Erling Haaland wants to be the alpha dog, the main scorer, the guy that takes the penalty kicks, and he would not have that role necessarily in a Galactico-type situation at Real Madrid. But things could change. That one at least could be valid, and you could see it happening. There is no chance that Erling Haaland goes to Barcelona. Zero. None. I have as much chance of going to Barcelona as Erling Haaland does. And this rumor is just so disingenuous that his agent met with Barcelona and that in any way implies that Erling Haaland has a chance of going there. I'm going to butcher this one bad. Rafaela Pimienta is his agent. That is Erling Haaland's agent. He's also the agent for like 30 other players, about a half a dozen of which are on expiring contracts and could be had for free. That is the Barcelona wheelhouse. He represents Matthijs de Ligt and Marco Verratti and a bunch of other guys who they probably have interest in but don't have any money for. But there are a billion reasons why he could have been meeting with Joan Laporta and anybody else from Barcelona. You know who else he represents? Arne Slot, the Feyenoord manager. And oh, by the way, Barcelona needs a new manager. And Arne Slot has been linked with a lot of other managerial openings over the past couple of years. Tottenham was interested in him. There were a few others. He's a very highly sought-after managerial candidate, and that one could be viable. That's the rumor. That's what should have been announced. But no, it's Erling Haaland's agent meets with Barcelona. What a ridiculous statement to put out there. And any media organization who ran with that and started touting that rumor, I discredit you immediately. Immediately. You are an absolute joke if you pushed that rumor out there. And frankly, if you're a fan who believed it, you're the reason why these joke organizations exist, because you're gullible. You cannot possibly think Erling Haaland is going to end up at Barcelona, at least this year. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now. He's a young guy, and they could get their ship right. But that's not happening this summer. There is zero chance of that. And so to dive into these rumors is utterly ridiculous. It should have been Arne Slot's agent goes and meets with Barcelona. There's a possible link up there. Or one of the other dozens of players that Pimienta represents. It's just an absolute joke. Now, Arne Slot and the managerial thing. That actually wouldn't be a bad fit. He's had a great success at Feyenoord and could be ready for a bigger task. If I'm him, I probably want to go someplace that's better set up to succeed. But Barcelona's Barcelona. I would get that. But that's the other factor. The coaching search is something we have to consider because when you look at FFP and the way they break down your wage bill and your costs, the coaches go in there too. Coaches are factored into FFP just the same as players. So the wage bill for managers counts, which means Barcelona's in trouble. And so when you see them linked with some of these big name managers, we sort of have to say the same thing. You can't afford them either. Xabi Alonso, you think he's going to be cheap? Bayer Leverkusen's not going to let him go for cheap. You're going to have to pay him a lot. You're probably going to have to pay them. Barcelona doesn't have the money for that. So when he's linked with Liverpool, sure, or Bayern Munich, sure. But Barcelona's not going to have the money for him, so don't believe those rumors. Now, when they're linked to Thomas Tuchel, who's almost certainly going to be out on his butt in a few months, yeah, because every time he goes to a new place and fails, he gets a little bit cheaper. So maybe that's a possibility. Or a guy like Arne Slot, who has not coached at a high level or at one of the bigger leagues yet. That because they have to have a manager. So they're going to have to spend some money there one way or another. So that's the viable rumor that should have happened. None of this ridiculous Erling Haaland's agent meets with Barcelona nonsense. What a misleading headline. While technically true, Rafaela Pimienta was there for one of a dozen other reasons other than Erling Haaland, who I assure you has zero interest in going and playing for Barcelona this summer. So we need to take a step back, both as fans and as media members. And I'm not a media member. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a journalist. I'm a guy with a microphone and a podcast and a YouTube channel. But there are media members out there that still treat Barcelona like it's the Barcelona of old, and have totally disregarded the fact that they let the greatest player of a generation go because they couldn't afford him, and have tried desperately to get him back and have failed, and have tried to get every big name transfer on the market and have failed. They simply don't have the money, and we need to treat them as such. So when these rumors come out, they should all be handled the same way. Barcelona interested in Alphonso Davies, still broke. Barcelona interested in Rafael Leao, still don't have any money. We have to put that caveat in, and I'm not trying to be mean. It's not a bullying type thing. You put yourself in this situation, now you have to deal with it. But these links are utterly ridiculous. And so as we enter, and we're a few months away from the summer transfer window, but these rumors start building. It's tomorrow's March. March, April, May are just the wheels are turning, and it's just this massive influx of transfer rumors. Remember, anytime you hear a player linked with Barcelona, they have no money. So if you don't at least ask the question, well, how are they paying for this player? How are they paying for this transfer? Then you are doing yourself a disservice. And if you are a journalist or a media member and you don't talk about the finances when talking about any of these big rumors, you are doing yourself and your credibility a disservice, and you're doing your readers a disservice by giving them uneducated information. All of us out here have an obligation to try and educate our viewers, our readers. Like I said, I'm not a journalist, but I do want to try and educate the public and folks who don't know about the sport, and learn things myself and have an educated discussion. Not, oh my gosh, can you believe Erling Haaland's going to go to Barcelona? It's the stupidest thing in the world. This is up there with the Foden-Saka debate. What are we doing? Let's call it for what it is and disregard that. If you want to talk about Erling Haaland going somewhere, it's Real Madrid, right? That one's got some validity. We can discuss that. The Barcelona thing, not happening. I don't care if they sell 10 Frankie de Jongs. They're not getting Erling Haaland. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Barcelona, the situation they've put themselves in, their current financial status, links on the transfer market, the rumors, you name it? What are your thoughts? Am I off base? Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something. There's got to be something out there that's missing, but I don't think I am, because I've researched. Because I feel like I'm missing something. But my theory here is that Barcelona had this legendary status for so long that they are still treated as football royalty, even though they can no longer afford to dine at that particular restaurant. That's my theory on it, but I'd love to get your thoughts down in the comment section. You can leave them on Spotify. You can leave them here on YouTube. Make sure you follow us in both places, all places, everywhere. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at Pitchside Pub. Thanks, as always, for joining us on La Pausa. This is episode 12. This is a Pints and Punditry podcast here at the Pitchside Pub.